Well, it's a very warm welcome back to second half independent off-tube studio commentary from the game at the Gtech Community Stadium. Brentford leading against Burnley by 1-0, and Burnley making a change at the start of this second half, needing to try and get a little bit more life into that attack. But Brentford pushing forward straight away from the kickoff. Jensen just stopped at the edge of the area by Neal Maupay, and now Burnley in possession, trying to push forward. It's Luca Koleosho that's come on to replace Wilson Odobert. Doesn't really surprise me that Vincent Kompany's made that change. And straight away, Koleosho's off down the left-hand side. And he's been stopped here by Christopher Aya. Aya's pointing towards the goal line as if to say it should be a goal kick after my challenge, referee Josh Smith has other ideas. Not only is it not going to be a goal kick, it's going to be a free kick. It's also going to be a booking here for Christopher Aya. And it was a risky challenge against the pacey Koleosho there. And the free kick has been given. It's in a decent position here for Burnley as well. A good chance to try and get the ball into the box. Sounds like we've already had an equaliser in the game at the Vitality. Straight away from the kickoff, Mateus Cunha has made it 1-1 between Bournemouth and Wolves. But this is a great opportunity here for Burnley early on in the second half to try and get this ball in. It's in a good attacking position here on the left-hand side, just to the side of the penalty area. And it is Koleosho and Mike Tressor standing over this one. It's Tressor's ball in. It's a good header away from Norgard at the edge of his own 6-yard box. Cleared into midfield, but Burnley still have possession. It's with Conor Roberts. Over towards the left-hand side now. Koleosho to Tressor. Towards Roberts' ball in. It's a good clearance there from Matthias Jensen, and Brentford potentially on the chance for a counter here as Mbeumo is away down the right-hand side. He needs some support though. Burnley and the players are coming back, and Mbeumo's going himself towards the 6-yard box. He breaks into the 6-yard box. He wants a corner kick. He's not even going to get that. That's good work from Dara O'Shea just to track Mbeumo. He's sort of lying there on the ground expecting something. I'm not sure if he's expecting a corner kick. It certainly didn't look like there was any kind of foul there on Mbeumo. Mbeumo's still off the pitch there complaining. What's he complaining about? Does he feel as though there should have been a penalty there? Well, I would say that for something virtually identical, Brentford conceded a penalty against Newcastle earlier this season. But it looks like they are going to stop play here just to view this. Before referee Josh Smith says to play on. So potentially Trafford's got away with. I mean, I don't think that the penalty that Brentford conceded at Newcastle earlier this season should have been given as a penalty in any case. So from that point of view, maybe it's right that this time it wasn't given, but again, it's that whole consistency thing that we're looking for with our officials. I'll remind you of the two teams in a moment, but just for the time being, we'll see out this attack from Burnley because it's Tressor down the right-hand side. He spots Roberts, who's breaking into the penalty area. Roberts just checked his run and goes back to Mike Tressor. He goes back now towards Neal Maupay. Bit of a midfield possession for Burnley now, still trying to push forward into the Brentford penalty area. Roberts turning one way and the other before going back to... Oh, there was a chance to try and get that ball through to Koleosho. He does get there in the end. I thought that Aya was favourite to win that one, but Koleosho gets there first. And a bit of pressure now for Brentford down the left-hand side here with Luca Koleosho getting away from Aya. And Koleosho goes for goal himself. Looks like it's a header there from Nathan Collins. He gets in the way of that, and it's out for a corner kick. So remind you, the Brentford team, no changes. Mark Flecken is in goal. It's a back four of Christopher Aya, Nathan Collins, Ethan Pinnock, and Vitaly Janelt. The three in midfield are Matthias Jensen, Christian Norgard, and Frank Onyeka, with Bryan Mbeumo, Yoan Wissa, and Neal Maupay as the attacking three for Burnley. As James Trafford in goal, a back four of Conor Roberts, Neal Maupay, Dara O'Shea, and Charlie Taylor. The holding midfielders Josh Cullen and Sam Ghoddos. The three ahead of them, Mike Tressor, Zeki Amdouni, and Luca Koleosho comes on for Wilson Odobert, and the front man is Lyle Foster. The corner kick is taken, and it's quickly headed away back into midfield. James Trafford comes all the way to the halfway line to keep possession here for Burnley. Sends a long diagonal ball over towards the right-hand side. Good header away by Christian Norgard. Out for a throw to Burnley down the right-hand side. You can see that Vincent Kompany barking out instructions there. He wants to see more from his players in this second half. No doubt about that. Bieg now gets the throw from Conor Roberts. Hoists a long ball into the penalty area. Drops at the edge of the box here to Foster. Foster does well to skip away from Jensen, but in doing so he played the ball a little bit too far ahead of himself. That allows Pinnock to get the clearance. Al-Dakhil and Maupay fighting for the ball. Al-Dakhil loses the ball and loses one of his boots as well. Maupay's got his arms up saying, what's that for? But the referee has decided there was a foul there from Neal Maupay. Al-Dakhil then turns to Maupay and goes, are you sure? What are you complaining about? But Burnley pushing forward quickly. There's a real urgency about Burnley at the start of this second half. And Tressel's ball into the box is a good one, and it needs that header there at the far post from Christopher Ajer. Although that ball was probably going to be too high for Foster, Koleosho was still coming in at the far post, and had it not been for Ajer, then there's a chance Koleosho would have got there before it had gone out for a corner, which Tressel will now take. Yeah, bright 5 or 6 minutes here from Burnley. Brentford have only really had one attack, and that was from a counter. It's Tressel now standing over it, whips it in towards the edge of the 6-yard box, diving header away there from Norgard. It drops to Cullen. Goes square to Conor Roberts. Back to Tressel on the left-hand side. Norgard slides in, gets a foot in, and then has been missed there by Onyeka, so there's a strike coming in, but a bit of a let-off there for Brentford. It was Onyeka that had missed the ball at the edge of the box, and it sat up invitingly there for Zeki Amdouni, but his effort is lifted over the bar. Here come Brentford now down the right-hand side. Stop though, and it's Burnley now back in possession. Koleosho square to Cullen. And played back towards the edge of the Burnley penalty area. James Trafford has... well, what's happened here? The referee has stopped play, but I'm not entirely sure why. What has happened here? There seems to be an issue here. The referee's talking to James Trafford, then he's picked the ball up and then given a drop ball back to Burnley. I genuinely don't know what that was about, but in any case, neither side seems to be too bothered about it, so whatever it was, it might have just been something that the referee needed to correct. But back underway here now. Koleosho on the halfway line, back in towards Amdouni. Amdouni stopped there by Frank Onyeka. Onyeka becomes the second Brentford player into the book this afternoon after Ajer's yellow card at the start of the second half. Onyeka now picking up a booking there, bit of a strong challenge from the Nigerian international. Yeah, it's just a lunge from Onyeka. He should know better than that, really. Amdouni was clearly getting away from him, but he wasn't prepared to take no for an answer there, Onyeka. So now he's got to play over half an hour of this game with being mindful of the fact that he can't pick up another booking. Trafford now sweeps a quick ball out towards... it worked out really well as well. It looked it was a low clearance from the goalkeeper, but it found Amdouni. And Burnley are on the front foot here now with Tressel down the right-hand side. He's got an overlap from Bieg. He chose to go into the box himself. It was cut out by... it was cut out initially there by Onyeka, then cleared up towards the halfway line where O'Shea brings down Neal Maupay. Free kick to Brentford. Quick round of applause there from Vincent Kompany. I'm not surprised. His side have shown signs of improvement in the second half. Diagonal ball out towards Mbeumo. He's not able to keep possession for Brentford though. Koleosho now has it back for Burnley. Here's Charlie Taylor to Sander Bieg. Dooney now back to Dara O'Shea. This is still inside Burnley territory here. Al-Dakhil now over towards the right-hand side. Strong challenge there from Jensen. So the referee deciding that ball came off Matthias Jensen anyway. He clattered into Conor Roberts. To Burnley now down the right-hand side. Just to remind you of the scores elsewhere, it's Bournemouth 1, Wolves 1, Manchester City 2, Brighton 0, Newcastle 3, Crystal Palace 0, and Nottingham Forest 1, Luton Town 0. There's two later games to come this evening. Chelsea against Arsenal is at 5:30. Sheffield United against Manchester United is at 8 p.m. Both those games available on our service. And in the earlier game today, in the Merseyside derby, Liverpool beat 10-man Everton by 2-0. Mentioned the later games. Of course, there is talk now from the Premier League about potentially having Chelsea against Wolves played on Christmas Eve. Which, I'm not too sure that's going to be too popular, certainly with people that work in football. Maybe to some fans it won't be an issue, but even then I think Christmas Eve should be a day that should be reserved where you're not playing football, considering that Boxing Day is already a day that is used in England as a day to play football where almost no one else does. I think to play on Christmas Eve as well, just before Christmas Day, it just seems like a little bit too much. But we'll wait and see. That's not been confirmed yet, but it does seem as though the Premier League are erring towards that. Meantime, Burnley in possession here in midfield. Bjerg back to Cullen. And now it opens up here for Burnley a little bit in this midfield. As Amdouni pushing forward down the left towards Koleosho. Gets to the edge of the area. He's got Jensen and Ajer there. Tries to play a ball in towards the 6-yard box. Just a bit too close to the line. And an easy save for Mark Flekken in the end. Towards Janel down the left-hand side. Closed down by Bjerg. He clears that towards midfield, but it's headed forward again here by Aldaco. Brentford are now struggling to keep hold of possession since the start of this second half. It really has been a positive start from Burnley. Wissa has the ball for Brentford, goes back to Norgard, who switches play over towards the right-hand side. And Mbeumo now lifting one here for Ajer to chase, and he gets there. He's behind the Burnley defence, but he fires the ball across the 6-yard box, knowing that there wasn't anybody there. I'm not sure he was forced to play it as quickly as he did. Maupay was arriving, but he was still at the edge of the area when Ajer's volleyed pass went across the 6-yard box. It was just a little bit too early, but some encouragement there for Brentford. They can get behind this Burnley defence. And a pass now from Norgard down the left towards Jensen is cut out by Roberts. It's Josh Cullen now for Burnley. Towards Foster. Back in towards Amdouni. Closed down here by Onyeka. Challenge there from Taylor. Just gets there ahead of Bryan Mbeumo, who takes the throw on himself. The referee's not happy. The only referee in the country that's bothered about 2 yards being stolen on a throw. Which isn't true, of course. I'll take that back. There are referees that do point these things out, but generally speaking, it's one of those offences on the field that you can get away with time and time again. I suppose on the few occasions when the referee does spot it, to mention that. But Brentford just having to go back towards their own penalty area here. A lot of pressure from Burnley. Foster closing down on Mark Flekken. Plays a high ball out towards the right-hand side. Heavy touch though from Ajer, loses it, and now is a chance here for Burnley. It's with Charlie Taylor. He gets to the edge of the area, but his cross is unacceptable, to put it bluntly. Lifts that ball a long way over, and it's out for a goal kick. No problems there for Mark Flekken. He can see that one is going to sail out without any worries. In the second half, incredible change round for considering the first. 20% possession for Brentford after 12.5 minutes. 80% for Burnley. 2 attempts on goal from Burnley in the second half. None from Brentford yet in the second 45. So it really has been a reversal of what we saw in the first half. And then some, because even when Brentford were on top in the first half, there wasn't such a big disparity in terms of the possession. But now the ball gone back towards the edge of the Burnley penalty area. Long clearance from Trafford up towards the halfway line. And I think a bit of a raised foot there from Luca Koleosho on Christian Norgard. Free kick to Brentford, taken quickly. Onyeka now out towards Mbeumo down the right-hand side. Mbeumo towards Maupay, still a long way out from goal, having to go back towards Matthias Jensen. It's down the right again here for Ajer. Options to get the cross in. Burnley have done well here. I think they've learned their lessons from the first half, that they've just made it that much more difficult for Brentford to get into their box. They've really tried to make things as tight as possible around the penalty area. Now a long clearance from Mark Flekken doesn't find anybody in a Brentford shirt. That should go out for a goal kick. But no, it will just stop in front of the line. So some work here for Dara O'Shea. Plays a ball in towards Cullen. And he goes back to Trafford, who clears this towards the halfway line, headed forward by Christopher Ajer. Fighting to keep that in play. It's Koleosho that puts it out for a throw. And Mbeumo leaving this one now for Ajer. Looking at options here, Christopher Ajer. Let's see anyone for a pass yet. Mbeumo's just come a little bit shorter this time. That's where the ball has gone. He goes back to Onyeka. Onyeka's first thought was to go 20 yards even further back towards his own half for Ethan Pinnock. Brentford just trying to be a little bit more cautious here perhaps at the start of the second half, as Wissa now gets a pass down the left-hand side. He's got Amdouni, as well as Roberts trying to slow him down. Plays that ball back in towards Pinnock. Good challenge there. Foster committed himself, but the loose ball still finds Yoan Wissa. Goes square towards Aya. Back to Yoan Wissa, who then plays a quick ball down the right-hand side for Mbeumo. He does well to get away from... well, he got away from his man and then just drops to the ground. He's got an injury here, Bryan Mbeumo. Clear hamstring problem for him there. Burnley aren't going to put the ball out, and you wouldn't expect them to, but there's a chance here now down the left-hand side here for the visitors. You can see that Pinnock was trying to get a bit of a foul in there, perhaps on Foster to try and stop the game, because Brentford are down to 10 men now. There's no way that Mbeumo can carry on, and then Burnley have wasted that chance really with a through ball from Mike Tresor that's gone straight out for a throw. Mbeumo is in serious pain there. And I'm not really sure why Thomas Frank is turning towards the fourth official. There's nothing that either Burnley or the referee should have done there, unless there's a bit of a kick there on Mbeumo, which I'm not sure that as Taylor caught him there. It looked to me as though Mbeumo was suggesting that he was. There's going to be a yellow card here for Thomas Frank, I think. Mbeumo is back up on his feet. Well, I thought it was a muscle injury for Mbeumo. If this is him trying to say that he was injured and the referee should have stopped play after that challenge from Taylor, I'm not sure. It's going to be a yellow card here for Thomas Frank, and I think that's deserved. If he's turned to the fourth official to complain about the play not being stopped or a free kick not being given, I think it's the right decision there to warn the Brentford manager with a caution. But I have to say that I bought it. To me, it looked as though Mbeumo had pulled a hamstring. And the fact is now that he's on the pitch, never had to go off the pitch, didn't need any physio help at all. So the fact that his manager's kicked off in the way that he has probably looked a little bit embarrassing there for Thomas Frank. But here comes Frank Onyeka. He gets the ball from Mbeumo, and Aya has joined this attack. He finds Maupay, who tees up Mbeumo, who goes for goal, and that is a fantastic strike. Well, I'll tell you what, Mbeumo was trying something a little bit cheeky a couple of minutes ago, trying to suggest he was injured and fouled. He gets back up on his feet and does what he does best, which is to go for goal, and it's a superb left-footed effort into the top corner. And that's harsh on Burnley, who have been the much better side in the second half. But now on 62 minutes, it's Brentford who lead by 2-0, and it is an absolutely superb strike from Bryan Mbeumo. He started the move here down the left-hand side. He played a through ball into Frank Onyeka. Onyeka then picked out Aya, who has chosen a central role this time. And then it was Maupay, just a gentle little ball to tee up Mbeumo. And that is superb. It really is a great finish from Mbeumo. It's what he does best. It's a left-footed player playing on the right-hand side, getting his body behind it, sending a curling effort into the top corner. And James Trafford, or indeed not many keepers, if any keepers, are going to save that. Really is a superb effort there from Mbeumo, and it's a lovely bit of curl as well. It just gets away from the goalkeeper, and Brentford now in a commanding position in this game, 2-0 up. It's going to be difficult for Burnley to come back. Not impossible, of course. A 2-goal deficit can always be reduced. As long as Burnley get the next goal, they'll feel as though they're still very much in this game. But Thomas Frank will be pleased. He was unhappy just a few moments earlier, really, when his side didn't get a free kick for what he thought was a clear foul on Mbeumo. He protested so much he actually got a yellow card. But just a few moments later, Mbeumo back up on his feet and scoring an excellent goal. Now we'll see how Burnley respond to conceding a second when they really... all the smart money in terms of how the second half had started would suggest that Burnley were going to be pushing for an equaliser. That said, Brentford took their one chance that they had, and now they are 2-0 up, and pressure here on Burnley as Tresor with a bit of a heavy touch. He's robbed of the ball now by Wissa. Wissa perhaps robbed of the ball there by his own team, but this is superb skill from Jensen, and he breaks into the box. He then finds Yoan Wissa. Wissa trying to trick his way in to get a shot away. He could have tried to find Neal Maupay. Maupay still gets the ball away from Trafford, and it drops to Jensen, whose effort is over the bar. He lifts that one too high. But from having just 20% possession just a few minutes ago in this second half, Brentford have now scored a second and have very nearly scored a third. Superb skills there from Jensen to skip away from two players. Wissa then holds on to the ball. There was a chance there for Maupay, but then a wasted effort really from Jensen when he lifted that over the bar. Burnley playing out from the back, but already dispossessed here. Al-Dakil loses the ball to Wissa, but then Wissa's pass isn't the best. Yano has to slide in just to keep his side in possession, but it does work. Collins over towards Pinnock down the left-hand side. It's back to Matthias Jensen, and Pinnock has gone on the overlap this time. Pinnock putting a cross into the box. There's nobody in there to receive it, but there may still be a chance here. Onyeka striking at the edge of the area, charged down by O'Shea, and then Mbeumo going back towards Christopher Aya. Onyeka to Mbeumo. Charlie Taylor blocking the initial pass, but there's a second effort there potentially. Although that pass doesn't quite reach Onyeka, and actually in trying to win that back, Frank Onyeka has actually committed a foul there as well. He has actually, there is a foul there from Onyeka. It's a free kick now to Burnley at the edge of their own penalty area. And more changes here now. Mike Tressor is off for Burnley. And so is Sander Bjerg. Just waiting for confirmation. Bjerg has been replaced here by Josh Brownhill, and Jakob Brun Larsen has come on to replace Mike Tressor. Wait and see exactly what Brun Larsen will be able to bring to the table. It's a very capable, of course, Danish international, Brun Larsen. An example of the sort of level of player that Burnley are trying to bring in this season. In the meantime, there's an injury problem here for Burnley, and it could be a very serious one because it's their goalie, James Trafford, who's down on the ground. He needed a bit of treatment. I'm not sure if that's after the lunge he did there to win the ball off Neal Maupay, or potentially, but as I say, RG Muric is on the bench for Burnley if needs be. But looking at the way in which the physios are sort of standing up and communicating with the bench, it seems to me as though, yeah, this is going to be a substitution here for Burnley. It looks like James Trafford is going to have to go off, which is a real shame. He's made a couple of excellent saves in this game. But it was when Jensen danced away from a couple of players and was breaking into the box. Was he going to have to go off? No, he's not. It's just a drop ball for Burnley. And it's, as I say, it looked to me as though the referee was beckoning him to go off. And certainly the way the physios were stood, it looked as though there was something very serious there for James Trafford. But after all of that, looks like he is going to be okay to play on. It's Brentford now in possession. It's Mbeumo's ball over towards the middle. He was taken out, though. Strong challenge there. Was that Dara O'Shea? It was O'Shea with the challenge. I don't think he's got a booking for that. But the referee is not happy here. It's a bit of a lunge down from O'Shea. I would argue that probably is bordering on a yellow card. So the referee is quite happy just to let that go with a free kick and nothing else. Here is a free kick to Brentford now. Long way out. It's Matthias Jensen standing over it. Plays a low ball along the ground here towards Mbeumo. Right hand edge of the penalty area. Mbeumo back to Jensen. His cross into the box is easily cleared up towards the halfway line. Back in towards Charlie Taylor. His pass up towards the halfway line is cut out by Christian Norgard, but then his ball is far too long, and that's easy for James Trafford. No issue there for the keeper. He'll comfortably make that save. Bowls this out as well. He looks fine, by the way, Trafford. He looked a little bit uneasy when he first got up to his feet, but he seems fine now. That's going to be a free kick against Matthias Jensen, surely. He pushed away Josh Brownhill, and now he's picked up a yellow card. This is starting to get silly now, I think. Not just from the players' point of view, but I think from the referees as well. I understand that if a player kicks the ball away, then it's wasting time. But Matthias Jensen backheeled that ball about 3 yards. It just seems like, as I say, when you see some of the strong fouls and challenges that the referees let go with just a bit of a word and a warning, and then a player, it's the same as Conor Roberts in the first half. He kicked that ball away about 3 yards, and he picked up a yard. I suppose I could credit the referee for being consistent with both teams, but even so, it just seems to me a little bit unnecessary to have been booking the player for that. Although I suppose those who expect higher standards of the players will say, well, why is Jensen kicking the ball away at all? So it does work both ways. I think that's it's just always remember that ridiculous situation where Van Persie took a shot after the whistle had gone, and he actually got sent off for a second yellow in a Champions League game, which, as I say, that's the sort of thing you don't want to see. It just seems like sort of referee being a bit of a job's worth rather than actually managing the game, which is what they're supposed to do, what they now do, of course. Getting some very interesting takes on VAR after the mistakes from the last few weeks. And of course that podcast revelation we got from Mike Dean, where he basically admitted that there were occasions where he could have asked the on-field ref to look at the monitor, but he didn't want to put any extra pressure on his friend who was doing such a good job refereeing the match anyway, so he thought, I won't say anything, which, you know, sort of defeats the whole point of having VAR. The idea is to help the referee, not put him under more pressure by making him look at the monitor. If the referees see that as if the referees see viewing the monitor as being under pressure, then they shouldn't be referees as far as I'm concerned. But ranting over, it's a corner kick to Burnley. It was a long ball played towards the edge of the Brentford penalty area. Christopher Ayer jumped and he's landed quite awkwardly here, the Norwegian international, but the referee has given the corner kick in any case because there was no foul on Ayer. In the meantime, Newcastle have taken a 4-goal lead now against Crystal Palace. It's not a good day for Palace. Callum Wilson with the goal for Newcastle, making it 4-0. But here at the Gtech, 71 minutes gone, Brentford 2, Burnley 0, and it's a corner kick to Burnley, which will be taken by substitute Josh Brownhill. Plenty of players in yellow Burnley shirts to aim for here for Brownhill. Lifts this one towards the edge of the 6-yard box. Good header away, and it was a strong header away by Nathan Collins. Kept alive here now by Josh Collins, who'd stayed a bit deeper for the set piece. Plays it square to Roberts, who'd stayed even deeper. Taylor now back over towards Josh Brownhill. It's Josh Cullen again, back to Charlie Taylor. There's a bit of space here now for Koleosho down the left. He lifts across in, good header away by Ethan Pinnock, played back towards the halfway line. It's controlled here now by Al Dakil. All over the top, but that one is to no one in particular. Burnley perhaps just losing their way slightly since they conceded that second goal. It was going to be a little bit of a tough ask to come back after the second goal was scored. But as I say, if Burnley do get the next goal in this game, we've still got just under 20 minutes to go. There's still plenty of time for them to have an impact on this match. It's just difficult for them to get back into that sort of free-flowing style that they had in the first 10 or 12 minutes of this second half, where they were only a goal down. They really looked like the better team in the second half when the second half started. And it was only Mbeumo's goal on 62 minutes that's really sort of swung things back in Brentford's favour. And at the same time, just that second goal has just made Brentford a little bit more confident in terms of how they're trying to frustrate Burnley, because Burnley are still seeing plenty of the ball. The weather has really changed to Gtech as well. It's a real shower now, a lot of rain coming down, making that surface and the ball a lot more slippery. It's Brentford giving the ball away here in midfield, although there was a foul just beforehand. Brownhill flicking that ball through towards Koleosho, who was away, but best before that, Matthias Jensen had been brought down. And it is now for a Brentford free kick. Ethan Pinnock taking the free kick over towards Christopher Ayer. Now up towards the halfway line. Making short to Mbeumo. Back towards Ayer. Being closed down, but he switches play over towards the right-hand side. Wissa holding it up here, does well to take that one down because he was coming in from a height and he was coming in at pace as well. Finds Mbeumo now in front of the box, who threads the ball into Maupay. Maupay being well marshalled there, he gets a shot away, crashes into Al Dakil, and then a clearance from Charlie Taylor goes out for a throw to Brentford down the right-hand side. Maupay, it's a good ball from Mbeumo to find Neal Maupay. The trouble was that he was always there was always a defender goal side in the form of Al Dakil, making it just that more difficult for Maupay's shot to head towards goal. Brentford getting a few changes ready here. See, Mads Røslev is getting ready to come on. Couldn't quite see the other player, just sort of stood aside on there. Certainly we are going to see Mads Røslev potentially coming on for emergency left back here, Vitaly Janelt, but it's a long throw here from Jensen. Headed away from goal by Christopher Ayer. Got his bearings all wrong there, and that could actually prove costly because now Burnley are on the counter-attack. It's a quick ball down the right-hand side, switched over to the left, and here is Lyle Foster now charging into the box. Foster plays it square. Oh, and it's been missed! It's been missed by Koleosho. That is an absolute gilt-edged chance. And it would have been perfect timing for Burnley as well to get that goal on 75 minutes, make it 2-1. All of a sudden we're going to have a grandstand finish here at the Gtech, but it's not to be. Brentford, not for the first time in their history under Thomas Frank, caught out from a counter-attack on the after their own set piece. And Foster does most of the work here. Nice little flick of the boot to play that into Koleosho. Koleosho, I mean, he is very left-footed, but even so, he should be able to tuck that in with his right. If he's going to go for it with his left, he's got to score there. That is an absolute sitter that he's missed, because the way that Foster had played that pass, he pretty much excluded the Brentford keeper from that particular move. There was no way Flecken was going to get to it. It was an open goal that Koleosho has missed. 2 changes for Brentford. Christopher Ayer and Matthias Jensen going off. Both of them on yellow cards as well. So Mats Roslev will play on the right-hand side of defence. The other change is the young Ukrainian Yarmolyuk, who has been at the Gtech since last season. And 3 appearances on the bench without actually playing. Gets his first team Brentford debut in the Premier League. He has made a League Cup appearance. Zeki Amdouni, meanwhile, has gone off here for Burnley as Vincent Kompany makes his 4th change of the afternoon. Amdouni is off. Nathan Redmond is on for the Clarets. As I say, we really should be talking about Burnley being back in this game now at 2-1 down. But Koleosho, who's looked so good since he's come on, has missed a sitter there as confidence from Mark Flecken. He got the pass back from one of his teammates and he drops the shoulder, gets that ball away from the advancing Koleosho. Brentford now with the ball in midfield, but that's not a good ball from Norgard. And suddenly Burnley are on the counter again. It's Redmond finding Foster, and now it's Brun Larsen breaking into the box. He's stopped by Onyeka. Brun Larsen then twists and turns and puts a cross in, and it's a good header away by Roslev because he was being closed down there by Koleosho. And then, with a bit of a delay in the meantime, it turns out that there is going to be a offside against, I'm not sure if it was Brun Larsen. They're showing us Brun Larsen on screen now. Well, I'm not entirely sure it was him that was offside. So that will be welcome news for Brentford, because Burnley have had a couple of quick counters now in quick succession. I'm sure that Thomas Frank would have been very relieved to see Koleosho miss that one, just as frustrated. Just as Vincent Kompany must have been so frustrated. A long clearance now from Mark Flecken, and there's going to be a free kick to Brentford in a good position. Yoan Wissa was stopped from running after the ball. This has got to be a booking here, surely. If the referee doesn't get a yellow card here, considering he's booked 2 players in this game for kicking the ball away 3 yards, well, he has to book Conor Roberts. Conor Roberts already has been booked, so it is going to be a red. Conor Roberts is going off. Burnley are down to 10 men for the last 78 minutes. For the last 12 minutes, I should say, on 78 minutes, Roberts is sent off, and he's not happy here, Conor Roberts, but I don't think he's got much of an argument. The ball was cleared long by Mark Flecken, and he was holding on to Yoan Wissa. It's not much contact, but he's holding him first of all by the shoulder, then by the bottom of the shirt. There's no way that he can say that that's one of those things. He's doing it deliberately to stop the pacey Brentford forward getting away from him, and as I say, it's a tactical foul. He knows what he's doing, and it's going to be a booking. So Burnley now have gone from looking very good at the start of this second half, 1-0 down, but with a lot of impetus and a couple of chances, to being 2-0 down, missing a sitter at 2-0, and now also being reduced to 10 men. So the second half has gone very sour here for the side from East Lancashire. Meanwhile, the side from West London try and use this free kick to further their lead. It's a good opportunity here now as Neal Maupay stands over it, Bryan Mbeumo stands over it. I would fancy Maupay only because it's over on the left-hand side, so it would favour the right footer. But what do I know? It's Mbeumo who takes it, lifts it, and it's straight at the goalkeeper, who makes a standing save. So in actual fact, you've got to say that probably it would have been better suited to Maupay, because he could have put a lot more whip on that one and made it difficult for the goalkeeper to actually make the save. But Burnley now down to 10 men. It's going to clip their wings slightly, but they're just going to have to go for it. If they get a goal here to make it 2-1, they're still very much in this game. Brun Larsen now square to Cullen. Over to Taylor on the left-hand side. Back in towards Al Dakil. Now down the right here for Lyle Foster. Is it inside for Cullen again? Brun Larsen Cullen trying to get some space here for Bryn Larsen, but that's well cut out. Good work there. Trying to see that out. It's going to be a throw to Burnley. Meanwhile, the Clarets are getting ready to make their fifth and final change. So they're obviously happy that there's no serious problem with the goalkeeper James Trafford, and it's going to be the Belgian Hannes Delcroix who comes on here for what looks like the injured Bryn Larsen. I mean, I can't, as I say, there didn't seem to be much of a problem there for Bryn Larsen. Meanwhile, the weather in West London really has taken a turn for the worse. It's absolutely tipping it down now over the Gtech. So just reading some of the local info before the match, there was actually a little bit of localised flooding. The Gtech Community Stadium is only a stone's throw from Kew Bridge, and the River Thames, of course, which will have a very raised level at the moment with all this heavy rain we've had over the last 2 or 3 days. So, the time being, even under this downpour, Brentford are 2-1 up, although Flecken has made a bit of a mess of playing that ball square. So just hoping that, I was hoping they were going to show us the moment that Bryn Larsen made it back to his bench, because I was wondering, I mean, I can't believe he was being substituted for playing poorly. I mean, there must be a knock. So Bryn Larsen is an established international. I don't think Vincent Kompany would take him off 10-15 minutes after putting him on for being unhappy with him, but it didn't look to be much of an injury for Bryn Larsen there, unless he's perhaps felt a muscle pain and just told his bench straight away rather than letting it get worse. There's another substitute here though. Nathan Redmond plays it into Brownhill. Brownhill, right-hand edge of the penalty area, being closed down by Janelt. Plays it back towards the halfway line. Brownhill played back towards the right-hand side. Quick turn there from Dooney, playing it back in towards Brownhill. With the ball now back on the halfway line. Here is Nathan Redmond. It's just they're doing their best here for Burnley, but just finding it difficult to break down Brentford now at this late stage of the game. We're a couple of goals at the City Ground. Nottingham Forest were 2-0 up against Luton. Wood with 2 goals. Chris Wood on 48 and 76 minutes. Just getting word of a late goal there for Luton, potentially showing a bit of late fight in that game. Just to run you through the scores very quickly again, it's Bournemouth 1, Wolves 1, Brentford 2, Burnley 0, Manchester City 2, Brighton 1. There is a goal there for Brighton at the Etihad, and it's Ansu Fati, the young loanee from Barcelona. Newcastle lead 4-0 against Palace, and Forest are 2-0 up against Luton, although I am getting word that there is potentially going to be a goal there for Luton Town. But as things stand here at the Gtech, we've had 83 minutes, and Brentford now just without the ball. That was a clumsy challenge though from Christian Norgard. I think he may get a booking here, the Brentford captain, when he lunged in on Charlie Taylor. I mean, the referee's having to squint and almost use windscreen wipers on his face right now. The weather really has turned massively. I mean, it was already quite a sort of grey day in West London anyway, but now it really is absolutely teeming down. It's, as I say, Brentford fans, it was one of the concerns they had last season, was the fact that Brentford were ground sharing with the rugby union club, London Irish. Sadly, London Irish have pretty much gone out of business. And that certainly isn't good news, but in terms of the Brentford pitch being in a much better state now as a result of that, there were a couple of games certainly towards the end of last season where it was quite noticeable how the pitch was cutting up. Luton do have that consolation goal at the Sitting Ground, as I mentioned, and the goal scorer for them there is Ogbene. Chidozie Ogbene, the Republic of Ireland international. Meanwhile, Frank Onyeka, the Nigerian international, is off here for Brentford late on. He's also on a yellow card. He's been replaced by the Iranian international Sam Ghoddos, another returning player, you could say. Ghoddos was released by Brentford in the summer, but then when he couldn't find himself another club, Brentford offered him another season to come back here and try and make his mark. Ghoddos actually scored a fantastic goal for Brentford away to Burnley in Brentford's first season, albeit it was only a consolation. Brentford played poorly that day, losing either 4-1 or 4-2 on the day away at Turf Moor. They were 3-0 down after about 25 minutes. I remember doing commentary of that game. Chance here for Brentford as Mbeumo broke, but they played the ball just a little bit too far ahead of him, and that one reaches James Trafford. There's going to be a yellow card here surely for the Brentford man Vitaly Janelt. He was trying to tussle with Nathan Redmond, and then as Redmond was getting away from Janelt, so blatantly pulled him by the shirt. Now we've seen the referee give yellow cards for even less in this game, so the fact that Janelt, I mean, to be fair, Janelt didn't argue, because I don't think there was any kind of way that he could say that he deserves that. It's a free kick now to Burnley on the halfway line. Dakhil waiting to take this. Got no one to play the short ball to, so he's forced to go quite a long way back now towards the edge of his own box. O'Shea seems to be playing as a sort of emergency right back here. That seems to be what they've done. He's positioned himself in a way so that he can try and make up for Roberts being sent off. A bit of a crooked clearance there from Trafford. The young keeper quite rightly puts his hand up to apologise. Still encouraging applause there from Vincent Kompany. I have to say, I mean, Vincent Kompany has always seemed like quite a likeable sort of person in football anyway, but having seen that documentary and just seen a little bit more of how he operates as a manager, I really do think that there is a great future for Kompany as a football manager. And you do get the feeling that both the owners and the company do see a long-term future here at Burnley, but of course, it may well be that I put the commentator's curse on that, because it's very difficult to have any kind of long-term future in football. Thomas Frank, as I say, celebrating 5 years at Brentford is already quite an achievement these days in sort of Championship or Premier League football, to be a manager for 5 years. And meanwhile, it's a complete reversal at the Vitality. Bournemouth were 1-0 up against Wolves at one stage. They're now 2-1 down. I'll confirm the goal scorer in just a second, but Gary O'Neill's going to love that one, of course, going back to his old club. Brentford, in the meantime, are going on the attack, and it's Norgard's ball into the box, which is cleared. Drops at the edge of the area. Oh, what a strike that is! That is an absolute beauty from Sam Ghoddos. Well, I mentioned that he scored a great goal against Burnley a couple of seasons ago, which was only a consolation. But what a hit this is from the Iranian international. He has absolutely laced that one. And James Trafford had absolutely no chance. 87 minutes gone. It's Brentford 3, Burnley 0. A much-needed win for Brentford. They've been poor in a lot of their games this season. They've not been as dominant and as free-flowing in their home games as they were in the previous 2 seasons. But this, you could say, is some sort of return to normal service for the Bees. I mean, Ghoddos is not marked. He's got a lot of space at the edge of the area. Takes it down on the chest. One bounce and then absolutely volleys that one. It's a superb hit from Sam Ghoddos. Really puts his foot through that. It's a great strike. Half volley, of course, if it's bounced in before anybody wants to correct me. But in any case, it's a superb hit there from Sam Ghoddos. And really, it's harsh on Burnley, based on how they played for a large spell in the second half. They all feel as though 3-0 is a bit of a harsh scoreline, but it's also, that's what Premier League football is. If you don't take your chances, make mistakes, and then the opposition start taking their chances, then it's going to be very, very difficult. And that really is a superb hit from Sam Ghoddos, justifying the fact that the club let him go and then brought him back again. Considering that, as I say, it's not like he was a regular starter for Brentford in his previous 2 seasons either. 3 seasons, I should say. He's always been a sort of bench player, doesn't get many starts, used in a couple of cup matches. Brentford traditionally don't do that well in cup competitions anyway, so he's not had too many opportunities to shine, but he's come off the bench this afternoon, and he's only been on the pitch a few minutes as well, and has scored an absolutely superb strike. He came on the pitch on 84 and scores on 87 here, Sam Ghoddos. You're absolutely delighted. There is a final change here for Brentford late on. Neal Maupay, who's put in a good shift this afternoon. He did have a goal disallowed for offside early on in the game. It wasn't actually his offside, it was a teammate who passed the ball to him. But he's off, and Brentford youngster Michael Olagikbe is on for the last few minutes. Giving him a chance. Made a couple of appearances off the bench already. Gigby now on, looking to try and make an impact here just before we hit injury time. Now, I mentioned that reversal at the Vitality. It is now Bournemouth 1, Wolves 2. Just to interrupt myself there, because there's a bit of a confusion there. Goalkeeper Trafford almost lost the ball, but he's just about recovered it inside his own penalty area. So as I say, at half-time it was Bournemouth 1, Wolves 0. Straight from the kick-off, within a couple of minutes, Wolves were level. Mateus Cunha with the goal. But then late on, it's Kaladic. The big tall Kaladic getting the goal. The Austrian forward. With a big goal, of course, he was involved in that penalty that wasn't given on the in the first weekend of the season when Manchester United should have conceded a penalty late on against. Well, they probably should have lost that game as well. It wasn't a good performance from United on that particular occasion. Just to remind you, of course, United are in action this evening. Manchester United away to Sheffield United in an 8 o'clock kickoff, available on this service. And before that, we have the 5:30 offering from the Premier League, a very exciting tie at Stamford Bridge, Chelsea v Arsenal. And of course, Chelsea is only a few miles down the river from the Gtech, so potentially the weather that we're getting here, of course, is going to be affecting things at Stamford Bridge. It's going to be a very slick surface. Not a quick play. We're into injury time at the end of this second half. We're going to get 7 minutes of it. And so the officials are very keen to try and get every minute back in this game. But there'll be... as far as Brentford are concerned, they'll be absolutely delighted with how this game has gone. Consider just how difficult it's been for Brentford over the last 6 or 7 weeks. They've not had a particularly good start to the season, but they'll be very pleased with this. They've just won themselves a corner as well, which is whipped in by Mbeumo. Good punch away though from Trafford. Drops at the edge of the area, headed forward and back into the box, but that was going to be picked up by James Trafford, who is now going to be able to send this ball forward. So the ball now played back towards the edge of the Burnley penalty area. Just getting word of a potential equaliser at the City ground as well, so there may be late drama there at the game between Nottingham Forest and Luton. But back here at the Gtech, it's Brentford on the attack. Janelt's ball into the box, headed away. It drops to Ghoddos, who goes for goal again. Has that got a deflection this time, or has he lifted that? He's lifted that a long way over the bar. He'll be glad to have scored that goal a few minutes earlier, because that effort was not good from Sam Ghoddos. In fairness, there was a defender closing him down. Had a bit of a bounce on it as well, but he's lifted that. I mean, not exaggerating, about 10 yards over the bar. It really was a skyward effort there from the Iranian international. Just one sort of scoreline worthy of note, because there's a bit of a parallel with what we saw in the Premier League game between Bournemouth and Wolves. Bournemouth are 2-1 down at home to Wolves, and Wolves, of course, now managed by their former manager, Gary O'Neill. Well, something almost identical has happened in the Championship this afternoon, where Norwich City were 2-0 up against Leeds United. Leeds United now managed by former Norwich manager Daniel Farke, and Leeds have turned it around in the second half from being 2-0 down to being 3-2 up, and that was certainly pleased those Leeds fans who've made a very long trip West Yorkshire to East Anglia, particularly with the recent weather conditions, and particularly seeing as our rail network is down again. It's very impressive that they'll be very pleased to see that result this afternoon. But here at the Gtech, we still have a full 4 minutes of injury time to play here between Brentford and Burnley. The visitors now in possession, but it's deep inside their own half. Rain still coming down here at the Gtech. Long clearance now up towards the halfway line. And headed back by Janelt towards his own keeper. Flecken now, with the ball out towards the right-hand side. Pass forward is cut out though. Easily seen there by Delacroix, and now a pass down the left goes out for a goal kick. Well, we can see there's some frustrated faces there on the with the Burnley fans. That's saying, take nothing away from them. It's not easy to get from Burnley to West London with these current weather conditions, especially seeing as I just saw before kickoff that King's Cross station in central London is shut. Not sure that affects Burnley fans heading back to sort of Manchester and Preston way. I think that would be from Euston, wouldn't it? So I'm not sure. I'm assuming there's going to be still some sort of train service heading between north and south and vice versa. But say football fans who travel in all weathers, in all conditions. And I mentioned in the first half this idea that there's potentially going to be a game on Christmas Eve between Wolves and Chelsea. Well, I'm sure that the away end will sell out. I'm sure there'll be plenty of Wolves fans there, but whether or not they should be going. Now, Brentford are on the attack here, down the right-hand side, a ball into the box, and Gtech gets brought down. I thought there might have been a foul there on the youngster. Not much of an appeal from Brentford. Burnley clear their lines, but the Bees come back straight away here with Janelt and Norgard. in midfield. Now back towards Nathan Collins. Can tell you that Luton did equalise against Nottingham Forest. It was 2-2. Adebayo with the second goal there to make it 2-2. But now I'm getting word of a late winner for Nottingham Forest. So real late drama there at the City Ground. None of the games in the Premier League have reached full time yet, which just shows you how much injury time there is across the league today. It's 3 minutes to 5. You would have thought that at least 1 or 2 games would have concluded by now. Just as I say that, Bournemouth against Wolves has finished, and it's finished Bournemouth 1, Wolves 2. So a big win there for Wolves away from home, and of course for their current manager Gary O'Neill against his former club, and even more pressure on Andoni Iraola, the American owner. Bournemouth's American owner went on record a couple of weeks ago saying, I take responsibility for this manager change. We're going to give him time to introduce a new style of play, and if we go down, well, so be it. Well, we'll see how long that promise is kept, because generally speaking, it's always far easier to change your manager than try and stick with it if you think you're not going to get the right results. You've got 90 seconds of injury time still to play here at the Gtech. Brentford 3-0 up against Burnley, and potentially another chance to get forward as Mbeumo breaks into the box down the right-hand side, goes all the way to the line, lifts that one towards the back post. It's going to be kept in play here by Yano. He drills it into the 6-yard box. The initial cross from Mbeumo was too high for Ola Gikbe. The second ball almost kept alive, but it's now cleared back into midfield. Quite frankly, if the referee ended the game now, I don't think anyone in a Burnley shirt would be disappointed. They're being run ragged now towards the end of the game, Burnley. Ghoddos into Janelt. Back in now towards Christian Norgard. Yoan Wissa down the left-hand side, just holding on. And then playing it back towards Christian Norgard. It's with... Collins now gets the ball down the right-hand side. And this is a great run, this as well, from to lift the ball in towards the 6-yard box. Hasn't been cleared. It's an attempted overhead kick from Matthias. No, that wasn't Jensen, was it? It was actually Yoan Wissa who'd tried an overhead kick there. It went wide, and we've had the full 7 minutes of injury time now. So I would expect the referee maybe calling time as soon as this goal kick is taken. James Trafford just sending his teammates further forward. It's going to be a long clearance here from Burnley's keeper. Referee Josh Smith looks at his watch and calls time on the game at the Gtech Community Stadium. It's been a solid performance from Brentford. You could say finally a sort of Brentford-like performance at home against the Burnley side that didn't show enough in the first half, were a goal down at half-time, then started to show some fight in the second half, conceding a goal against the run of play, missing a sitter, then having a player sent off before Sam Ghoddos wrapped things up with the third goal. But it's Wissa and Mbeumo and Ghoddos with the goals for Brentford. Conor Roberts with the red card for Burnley. It's finished Brentford 3, Burnley 0 from myself, Paul Szczerbakowicz. Thank you very much, and do join us again soon.